Welcome to the Shanghai International Circuit in China for the GT Asia Series, Shangpeng Race of Shanghai. I'm Sean Henshelwood, I'm joined by Steve Martin, and we've just come off a few hours back the penultimate round of the championship, Steve, and wow, didn't it turn out a result we just didn't expect. The weather played a big impact. It's still wet here now. You see the two title contending teams on the front row of the grid. There are 11 drivers in contention coming into this morning's first race, but right now it is all down to two. One of them, this man, Andrea Amici, his second Motul pole award this year. Alongside him, Anthony Liu. There's 18 points separating the two in the championship. And Steve Martin, that's a pretty big ask. It's all down to one has to win, one has to fail to finish. So it's going to be all about playing nice for one and going on maximum attack for this car and Anthony Liu.
Yeah, absolutely. David Arizzo and Anthony Liu really have got nothing to lose now. Anthony Liu will start the race, of course, and his main aim is he has to win, and he has to hope that something happens to the number 55 Lamborghini. Now, how important is this in championship to Lamborghini? Very important, because believe it or not, the Hurricane hasn't won a championship anywhere in the world. This is it. So these guys need to win. But there's going to be other people like Marchi Lee and Thong as well, Thong behind the wheel now, who are also Lee behind the wheel, who are also going to be challenging very fast. We saw how fast the Audis were in round 11 here.
Well, the Ferrari, as you can see on screen there, is a sandwich. There's the 15 car. The second team, Jerome Mule and Marco Mappelli, two factory drivers have come out for Europe. Jerome Mule in the car. He will make the start. But they've come out to try and protect that asset, protect the championship points lead of Andrea Amici and Edo Liberati. So they will be doing what they can to run some level of interference with the Ferrari of Anthony Liu and Davide Rizzo. Of course, we saw in that first race today, dramatic scenes. Anthony Liu and Davide Rizzo behind the wheel, was on the front row, just like they are now, for the start of the opening race, got caught up in a melee with the reigning champion. Daryl O'Young spun sideways, took them out. They had to work their way back through the field, and in near zero conditions, they ran into the back of this car on screen with Li Qiao behind the wheel, and they punched in the back of the Porsche. They kept going, but that was terminal damage in the end to the number 37 Ferrari. The team have worked feverishly since that race finished. They've got the car back going again, and it's on the grid. So fingers crossed for them. They can finish this championship out in fine form.
This is your winner from round 11, of course. Alex Au brought the car home over the line, and in a difficult race, but full of confidence, bodes well for this round. Once again, starting the race off, and should be interesting to see. But Shangpeng, number 88, with Frank Yu behind the wheel, has got it all to play for. This car nearly won round 11, but they had a couple of spins, and poor old Frank ended up off the podium. So fingers crossed this time round. With Richard Lyons finishing off the session, it should be a good race for them this time round.
Well, they're really the rock stars of this event. It is the Shangpeng event. This is the Shangpeng racing car, and if you heard the crowd then, we could hear them in here in our commentary position in the middle of this circuit. We're a long way from the crowd. They're still roaring. They're really into this race. There's a big support here for Shangpeng and the Craft Bamboo Racing team. Now, these guys had a tough run last time out. It's not the way that Daryl O'Young would have gone out of his... he should have carried the number one this year. He is the reigning champion. He still is the reigning champion until the end of this race. And we see that somebody else becomes the 2016 champion. But a tough run in that opening race. But it's Toibiran Bhakti that will start this. It's a big ask for the young Thai driver in pretty treacherous conditions still.
He's on a very steep learning curve, is Toibiran Bhakti. But he's done a good job. And to be honest, that car is moving further up the grid as the years progressed. I really do feel that they're getting the most out of that Porsche now. Inthra Puvasak with a big job to do. They got the pit stop time wrong in round 11 and got a drive-through penalty. If that doesn't happen this time round, with Duncan Tappy in that car as well, you've got to think that they're going to be challenging up near the front of the pack.
So here's the championship points after round 11 of the championship. One more race to go. 60 minutes until the end of the championship. Edo Liberati, Andrea Amici, 128 points. Anthony Liu, Davide Rizzo, all to do, 110 points. And a big tie after the last race result. Andrew Kim, Adley Fong, Sean Dong, Marchi Lee, all tied on 108. Woody Corn on 103. They're all out of the equation now. It's down to 2. And Jonathan Venter, the Australian, 3-time winner this year. A bit more drama in that last race. Didn't quite collect the points they were looking for. Alex Young and Alex Au, by virtue of winning the race last time out, round 11, jumped to position 11, 98 points. And Kaitasawa, Duncan Tappy, we're talking about Carla Van Dam, Penny Birambaki, Frank Yu and Richard Lyons a little bit further back, haven't had the greatest of years. But boy, they were the rock stars early in this race. You could hear the big Shangpeng crowd screaming for the number 88 Shangpeng Porsche GT3R during those opening laps, and it looked very much after the pit stop like it was Frank Yu's race. But unfortunately, a couple of spins in conditions that Alex Young admitted afterwards, Steve, were changing lap by lap. It really was very, very difficult.
I think we're going to see a similar scenario this time around. Looks a little bit drier than it did at the start of round 11 this time round in this race in round 12. But still, we've got the main protagonists on the front row of the grid. It's really going to be anybody's race, but we saw the intentions of the number 55 car from the start of the roll-up warm-up lap. He blasted off into the lead. I'm sure that is exactly what he wants to do during the race. He wants to be away from the number 37 car, the Ferrari, the BBT team, with Anthony Liu driving at the moment. Yellow
strategy
flag
going on there too. You see a yellow flag, but it seemed like Anthony Liu had just dropped back a little bit there from the 55 car, just maybe try and get a little bit of temperature into the engine and the tyres and the brakes.
That's exactly what he's doing. He's closed the field up a bit so he can get a bit of speed up. I actually spoke to Darryl O'Young in between races, and he said that the reason that he had his spin on the first lap was because he didn't have the temperature in these Michelin wets. Michelin have bought a new wet here this weekend, and once it's up to temperature, it works really well. But Darryl O'Young didn't work the tyres on the warm-up lap, so I'm sure he's not going to, well, I'm sure that team won't make this mistake this time around.
Quickly go through the grid, so it is Andrea. Quickly go through the grid, it's Andrea Amici who will start from pole position by virtue of placing on top in the session yesterday. Davide Rizzo, Anthony Liu behind the wheel will start alongside in the 37 Ferrari. Then it is Marchi Lee will start position 3. Jerome Mule in the second of the Triple F Lamborghinis will start from P4. Kaitasawa, multiple winner of GT Asia Series, start position 5 in the number 8 Bentley. Li Chao will start from position 6 in the Group M Racing Porsche GT3R. Then it's Alex Au, winner last time out with Alex Young, will start in the number 6 Phoenix Racing Asia Audi. Alongside him, Frank Yu. Those two battled very much through the closing stanza of the opening race here earlier. He will start in the Shangpeng Porsche before handing over to Richard Lyons. Fifth row of the grid will be shared by Andrew Kim and Toy Birambakti, and the final row, of course, the number 9 Bentley Continental of Intrapuvasak. He will share the car with Duncan Tappy. They have been regular podium finishers this season, and they will be looking to try and extend that string of solid runs in this final race of the year.
Just quickly before the start of the race, I've got to say I'm loving this midweek concept that GT Asia Series has come up with. We've got massive support, lots of crowd here to watch this. I mean, this is it. This is the only motorsport going on right now, and it's live.
It's the most important motorsport event in the world right now. And it's a little sad it's the last race of the year, but Steve Martin, we're going to be up for a classic race. Yellow flag, get the 2 rows of cars in line, ready for this start. Let's see how much visibility that guys at the back don't have this time round. It was very, very hard to see going into turn 1, that opening race. Then we saw that contact between the front-running Ferrari of Rizzo and Darryl O'Young. And we're away as Adley Fong, Andrew Kim rather, going down the inside. Marchi Lee on the left there. But the Ferrari has taken the advantage, got the lead. The 2 Lamborghinis a little bit further back. That is Amici in second, Jerome Mule in third. Amici's looking to do the crossover. Mule's gone wide. That's allowed the Group M Porsche and the others up the inside. Very, very wide contact now. What's going to happen here? You don't want to go too far.
Oh, spin!
It's spin for Anthony Liu. Hopefully no contact. Oh, just tagged there. Well, Alex Au, he spun it around. More spinning.
Toy Birambakti's out as well.
That is Intrapuvasak. That's Birambakti has spun. And repeat performance almost of the opening race.
It is so slippery on this wet track in that first complex of corners. Everyone's back underway, unlike round 11, so it's good to see. But a lot of people with work to do, especially the number 37 car with Anthony Liu at the back of the grid. Not what he needed.
Andrea Amici was doing everything he needed to. He pushed and he pushed hard. He just took that advantage, and maybe a cold tyre issue too for Anthony Liu. He's just gone in too far into the corner. Then wanted to get across the grass, cut across to turn 3 and follow the Lamborghini through, but just got onto the ripple strip there. No grip, and spun the car as he got back on the throttle. So that's frustration.
Another
again.
spin.
Looks like Birenbaki's back off again, but plenty of runoff here. He's able to continue as that would have been Woodicorn going through. So this is towards the rear of the field, but at the front, the points leaders, the champions-elect, look like they're doing everything they need to do in this race to get away at the front of the field.
There's Lee just in the middle of the pack at the moment. He's doing a good job to stay out of trouble. Fantastic. Actually, he's been the top scoring Porsche so far this weekend, which is great to see from the Group M entry.
We've seen that a couple of times. In fact, earlier in the year, the other Group M entry with Tim Sugden and John O'Lester, the New Zealander, managed to make the podium in Okayama. Down to turn 14, deep under brakes. Marchi Lee now holding on to position number 2. They would dearly love to take another podium finish as Kaitasawa now up into position number 3 ahead of Jerome Mule.
I don't know if you noticed at the podium speech after round 11, Marchi Lee wasn't that happy with third position, especially when his teammate won the race. So I think keep an eye on Marchi Lee. He's got something to prove here today.
Teammate run the race, you've lost me.
His teammate, Alex Young.
He's Phoenix Racing Asia team. Yes, the 2 old stages that have been battling all year in the Audi Cup and in GT Asia. Yes, in fact, that was the very first win for Alex Young in GT Asia. He said, gee, it's been a long time coming. Oh, that looked like it may have been a bit of an issue for Alex Au and Anthony Liu further back. No, they've got through just different lines.
But look at
heading
Anthony,
into turn 1.
Look at Anthony Liu.
He is absolutely screaming. So last time round, if I just check the time, 2:33.4.
There's been contact on the number 6 car as well. Look at the left-hand
Ferrari,
side.
the left rear of the Ferrari has contact too. And that may have been as a result of, those 2 cars did make contact after the spin. Alex Au got a little bit boxed in and just clipped the rear of the 37 Ferrari as they came through turn 3. Good job by Lee there, as you said, in the Group M Porsche, a little bit further back there behind Jerome Mule. As replay of the start, you see left of screen, it's Andrew Kim ducks out in the big Bentley. Then on left now is Marchi Lee, but the one that got the jump was Anthony Liu. Great result. Fired into turn 1 all right, like deep under brakes. You can see it, the 2 Lamborghinis are there. This looks pretty good. He seems to have the line. Amici's looking for an opportunity to go up the inside, and it's through to turn 2 and 3 where the issue actually happened. You see he's just gone wide. Amici too's gone wide, but as soon as you saw that Anthony Liu got onto that wet stuff, same thing happened to Birenbaki. That's why it was Woodicorn was turned around. And frustration for the 37 car. Now, hopefully that's not terminal damage, but
actually looks like there could be some sort of damage
not
there.
moving quickly, the Absolute Racing team.
No.
Looks like Woody might be getting out of the car, so that's disappointment for what had been a fantastic year for that team.
Yeah, they've got quite a few podiums, and they were up for a shot heading into this Shanghai event at the championship still. One of the drivers and teams that could
absolutely
have
look at the spray. It seems to be getting worse. The rain's been on and off all day, and it looked like it was almost starting to clear. In fact, before the race we were talking that perhaps there may be a dry line appear towards the end of this race, but that doesn't look like there's much chance of that happening.
If this is China's showers, I certainly don't want to see rain.
It's certainly wet, and the spray going down to turn 14 makes it very difficult for the cars further back in the pack. It's Jerome Mule on track, but his teammate is doing just what they did here last time round in the opening stanza of the race. Off the pole, they're just disappearing into the distance. So a good result so far for Andrea Amici, but still there is 54 minutes to go in this race, so nothing's guaranteed. As now Anthony Liu has gone past Andrew Kim. That is for position number 6, so he's moving his way forward. We saw last time out here in August, there's a little bit of rain late in the race, and Anthony Liu was electric. Easily the fastest car on the circuit.
Yeah, he was 3-4 seconds a lap quicker than everybody else out there, and he brought a victory home for him. It would be very good for him to do that here. That's what he needs to do. He is starting to make ground up. If I have a look at the lap times, he is in 23s in traffic, but the man out front, Amici, at the moment is sensational. 2:20.9 quicker than anybody.
And 4 seconds up now on Marchi Lee in second position.
Well, they do need to make up a fair bit of time, do Liberati and Amici, because although they're leading the race at the moment, they have a longer pit stop than everybody else. And perhaps you want to tell us why, Sean?
Well, it's down to a number of things. But the basic compulsory pit stop time between minute 25 and minute 35 in this race, every team has to come in for a compulsory pit stop. Every team changes drivers. There's no refueling. In some cases, they may not even change tyres. There's no mechanical work done on the car. They change the driver. They're allotted 75 seconds from the time they come into pit lane to a designated line with an electronic timer to the time they leave pit exit. 75 seconds minimum. Now, if your driver gradings are higher, so we see this fantastic Shanghai crowd continuing to sit on. They've been here all day cheering on this series. It's been great racing and great support. But the drivers, if they have a higher driver grading as a silver combination as both Amici and Liberati are, they get an additional time penalty added to their compulsory pit stop time. Also, if you finish either first, second or third in a previous race or a prior race, you will get additional time. That's why when the 55 car comes in to stop, for Andrea Amici to hand over to Liberati, they will stop for 100 seconds. Meanwhile, also a silver-silver combination, Anthony Liu and Davide Rizzo will stop for 91 seconds. So too will Jerome Mule and Marco Mappelli, and so too the number 8 car of Jonathan Venter and Keita Sawa. So there's various different times. The idea is that nobody gets a huge great advantage to disappear off into the distance. Now here's an interesting thing. Car 55 and car 37 are under investigation for an incident.
Well, that would have to be on the start line.
Well, you
think
one. So. Yeah. And there's the 2 championship points leaders.
Perhaps there was a couple of touches. Maybe there was a touch that we didn't see on the screen at that time, because it seems strange that Anthony did run that wide. So we'll have to wait and let the officials, the stewards, work that one out. Another spin, is it?
Looks like Toy Birnbaki's just getting back onto the main straight, so maybe coming through turn 16, he's just lost the tail end of the car. Now, different dynamics with these cars. The beautiful thing about GT3 racing is so many different categories of cars or different styles of cars. There's a 5.2 litre naturally aspirated V10 Lamborghini leading a 5.2 litre naturally aspirated V10 Audi, followed by a 4 litre twin turbo Bentley, another Lamborghini, another twin turbo 4 litre Bentley, and then you've got a flat 6 in a Porsche,
well, perhaps you can tell
which is naturally aspirated.
Perhaps you can tell us why they can all compete against each other, because I'd imagine a 4 litre flat 6 wouldn't be able to compete against a 5.2 litre turbo.
Well, the beautiful thing about this is what they call parity adjustment. Most of these cars, if not all, run air inlet restricted, so it's basically like breathing through either a hose pipe or breathing through a straw. So sometimes if you've got bulk horsepower, they will limit the amount of air the engine can get, as we're looking at a replay here potentially of Toy Birnbaki. It's as he rejoins and runs across the line. It looks like he may have just recovered as Sean Tong watches on, seeing what Marchie Lee is doing there in second place. It limits the amount of air that the engine can take in. So basically what they do is they adjust the performance of these cars until they are very closely matched. Now, some circuits, they operate differently. Some have rear-mounted engines, or mid-mounted engines we call them. They're mounted between the front and rear axle, but they sit behind the driver. Others, like the Bentley, have the engine in the front. So there's different characteristics and performances of each car, some of which excel on fast, open, sweeping circuits like Formula One circuits, for instance. Others may do a little bit better job on some of the tighter circuits that we visit. So there's a whole heap of variables, but ultimately what the administrators of any of these categories are trying to do is get all these cars matched on performance. So they pretty much, with the same driver across a lap, will set the same time. It's interesting, you'll find that something like the Audi V10 in road-going form will do 330 kilometres an hour. These guys would be lucky to do 280, but it's the aerodynamics where they have the advantage, and the brakes. They stop a lot later and they can carry speed through a corner. As we watch, this is Frank Hughes had a spin, not in the Shanghai car. That's not what he needs to do. That's frustration. A little bit of a grip issue there with the 88 car, and you alluded to this earlier, Steve Martin. It may be the way the car's been set up, and it's just not working out well in these pretty wet conditions.
The other thing in this championship is we have amateur drivers and we have professional drivers. Now, a professional driver, and in this case, obviously we've got Richard Lyons and Frank Hugh, and Richard will like to have the car set up quite sharp because he can control it. He's a professional racing driver. That's what he needs to do. And when a car's sharp, it's fast. But it doesn't look like it's friendly enough at the moment, unless there's another problem. I think Frank's got some sort of other problem. He's wide again. whatever's the issue is there, it just doesn't look normal. Richard Lyons they're all talking amongst themselves at the moment, trying to figure it out, because it doesn't look like it's making sense.
Oh, a spin from the other Porsche in the background there. That was Charlie just doing a spin coming out of turn 10. Actually, he was heading down a straight line. Something unusual's happened there and spun him to the infield.
Yeah, I didn't expect to see this from the Porsches. I thought if they were going to shine, it was going to be here with cooler conditions, and there's supposedly a good car to drive in the wet.
It's an interesting line that is being taken by Andrea Amici right at the extreme right of the circle, although it looks too like Marchie Lee's doing the same thing, so there may be some advantage there.
The advantage will be is that perhaps it's just starting to dry up. So what they're doing is they're picking the wettest part of the circuit. They've got to make these tyres last, because a lot of these guys have only got one set. It's nowhere near as wet as it was in race one. These race cars throw off so much water. You can see all the mist thrown off of the track as they go through. If they start to get a dry line with these tyres, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. So the trick is, where you don't need grip, head for the wettest part of the circuit to cool down those tyres.
It'll be interesting to see what teams elect to do when we come to the compulsory pit stop. Now, the window will open in about 12 minutes, 13 minutes time at the 25-minute mark of this race. So we'll see what then happens. Again, you were talking Pro-Am. You'd expect with the AM drivers in most cases behind the wheel, they will pit earlier to get the pro driver in the car. But you just don't know. It depends on track position, depends where they come out. The teams are looking at all this data and trying to determine the best way to do it. They may elect for another set of new Michelin control wet tyres.
If they've got them.
If they've got them.
I was speaking with, just to interrupt, I was speaking with Alex Al and Alex Jung. They did have two sets of tyres. Because Michelin didn't foresee that there'd be this much rain here at this circuit. So, of course, they bought enough wets, but because it's rained all weekend, everybody's only had two sets of new tyres for round 11 and this round 12. Basically, what Alex Jung and Alex Al decided to do was, because they were on pole and they had a good chance at winning, they used two sets of new tyres in that race to put it in the bag and win the race. So they're on old tyres for this race.
On screen, there is the expected father, a man who has a birthday tomorrow. He could have been the champion of the GT Asia Series. There's still every chance that's possible. It's a long shot now, you would expect, but he really does love his motorsport. He and Davide Rizzo, since they first appeared in the GT Asia Series as rookies at the start of the 2014 season, have been a revelation. 8 wins between them, or 8 wins each, rather. They're usually side by side. There's been a couple of instances where they've been split, and he's done a great job. Now look at the rear wing on the Group M Porsche. There's a problem. That contact in the rear has made that car a little bit unstable. So something's broken or been bent with some level of contact. It may have been that spin at the start by Anthony Liu. He may have clipped, because you can see just how far the winglets on the edge of that rear wing stick out. Whether there's been a knock or a bump, and that's just bumped the rear aero of that car. There's Desheng watching on. He'll take over very shortly. A regular amongst the Porsche fraternity in Asia. As again, that is Anthony Liu firing down the straight, trying to latch onto the pace of Jerome Mule in front of him, as again the Porsche continues to hassle the back of Andrew Kim, and that is for position number 6.
Anthony Liu is doing a good job. He is actually pulling Jerome Mule back. He's 0.2, 0.3 per lap quicker, so there's every chance that he can catch up. Talk about under the hammer, though. The number 96 car is looking for a way past. Andrew Kim under immense pressure at the moment.
Li Chao's doing a brilliant job.
He is.
Really, really is. I mean, they ran quite strongly in qualifying. They were top 6 in qualifying.
He's gone in
around
hard.
The outside, even with that wing at a slight, strange angle. Hopefully it all sticks in. But because he's had plenty of experience around this Shanghai International Circuit, and he'll know where to position that car. Now, this is really, really good drive. I guess, too, the weather takes out one of the variables, being supreme outright pace. There's other things they need to think about. It's all about positioning the car in the right part of the circuit, and sometimes bulk horsepower and speed aren't necessarily going to give you the advantage that you need.
No.
Oh, as Andrew Kim's gone in way deep, I thought he's going to be lucky to pull that up. He's just run off the circuit. He'll regroup and continue on. He's been a bit of a revelation too this year, the South Korean driver, and been very impressive driving alongside Adderley Fong.
Yeah, he got his. Did he not get his first win this year as well, Andrew Kim?
Absolutely, yes,
perhaps
indeed.
In Korea, I think, at home.
Well, that's a very good question. He actually won, I think, in Japan. You would suggest that he was a winner of round 5 alongside Adelaide Fong, which of course is Okayama International Circuit, but always very quick at home. That would be Toy Birambakti heading back out. It's not the compulsory window open just yet, so Birambakti will still be installed behind the wheel of the number 91 VLT car of the outgoing champion, I might point out, Alex Yule. Daryl O'Young.
He needed to pit though because there was obviously some sort of issue with that car, and hopefully now they've made some adjustment or figured out what it was, and he's sent him back out. And even if they haven't got a chance of winning the race, both him and Daryl O'Young can compete and get their confidence back, because that's what they need to do.
It will be interesting in the compulsory pit stop window. The distance between the 55 car and a 5 car is 5.8 seconds. The difference in compulsory pit stop times between the 5 and the 55 car is 5 seconds. So what Marchie Lee really needs to do is charge a little harder before that compulsory stop, close that gap to under 5 seconds, and what he should essentially do is hand teammate Sean Thong the lead of this race. The other one to consider is the car that's in 3rd place. Now they're 9 seconds now behind the 55 car. They will stop for 91 seconds. That's 9 seconds different to the 55 car. So they're right in this equation. The 37 car, it will be 9 seconds slower too. But it would come out of the pits, if everything was equal and everybody got it right, 10 seconds behind the race-leading Lamborghini. So still, there is a lot left to play for in this race, and we're a good 7 minutes from that pit stop window opening.
And that's what I like about the compensation times. It does work really, really well and closes the race up and makes it a lot more interesting.
It does, and the racing's been fantastic all year, and certainly the compulsory pit stop has added another element, and strategy too has played into the equation for many of the teams. A little bit of damage you can see on the race winners of round 11 of the championship. Alex Howe drove brilliantly. I'll say it again, it was a really supreme job from a driver who is an amateur in every sense of the description. Whereas Alex Jung, of course, former Formula 1 driver, raced at Le Mans, raced prototypes, raced GT cars for years, a multiple champion in the one-make Audi R8 LMS Cup. He knows how to make these cars work, and he managed to get through despite it being terribly difficult in the opening race. Hand the car to Alex Au in the lead. Au lost it after the pit stop. Frank Yu took the lead in the Shangpeng car, and Alex Au just drove a very, very mature and sensible race. Here is Frank Yu in the Shangpeng car as we head towards the compulsory stops. But it was a brilliant drive by Alex Au, and the first victory in 31 starts for Alex Jung. He was absolutely delighted.
Frank Yu is definitely knocked off the pace at the moment. 24.8 you saw is his fastest lap of the race, but he's down in the 26s at the moment, which is a little bit off our leaders. But once again, there's something there that he's not happy with when it comes to the setup of the car, and he just needs to bring it in one piece to Richard Lyons and get Richard in behind the wheel and see what he can do.
Yeah, they'll be looking to try and finish this in a high. That was a very slow exit coming onto the Parabolica by the look of it.
So I guess he's lost his confidence in the rear of that car. Like, he doesn't want to spin again, and he's not the only Porsche to do it. We've seen everybody with a Porsche have a spin today. Something that they need to get right with the setup. I'm sure it's just a setup issue.
So there you have it on screen. Lap 8, Amici in front ahead of Marchie Lee. 5.8 seconds the gap. 9.8 seconds between Keita Soa and Andrea Amici, and the second Triple F racing team by ACM Lamborghini Huracan GT3 of Jerome Mule, 14 seconds back. We made this point a little bit earlier. We're talking about some of the European drivers that come to Asia and install themselves in this championship. Jerome Mule is one of them. He's been involved in the development of the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 since the very inception of the car with the Lamborghini Squadra Course team. The young Dutchman has done 1 million miles in these cars. We expected him to come here and not rout the GT Asia Series regulars, but certainly push him along a little bit. He had Richard Antonucci, a very experienced American driver who's also part of the Lamborghini family, join him last time around, a little bit sideways coming out of turn number 10.
A little
nice
bit sideways.
Driving.
That's
nice
as sideways
slide.
as you like.
That's drifting. But they hadn't quite taken the fight to the series regulars. And in fact, I was talking to Edo Liberati about their futures, and they said, oh, look, there's a fair string of Lamborghini youngsters that are in line for some of these big drives. And I said, well, surely your stock has increased as a result of being in the GT Asia Series, and they said it certainly had a big impact, and it's nice when we can go head-to-head with some of these big international stars that have been collared as the drivers of the future for Lamborghini, to be able to race with them, and in this case, disappear into the distance.
Just let me point out, look at the lack of spray over on the right-hand side of the circuit now, and that's why they're heading over to our left to keep those tyres cool. It's certainly starting to dry up out there. You've got to keep the tyres cool now. The last thing you want to do is just burn those wets out, especially if it rains again later in the race. Anything is possible.
Marchi Lee has kept that gap pretty stationary. 2:22.56 last time round for Amici. 2:22.60 for the man on screen in the A8 by a Bathing Ape Audi. And that is Toy Birrenbach having another excursion off the track, just exploring the limits of adhesion and the limits of the VLT Porsche GT3R. He's come along a long way during this season.
Absolutely, he certainly has.
A driver who'd pretty much never been involved in a GT car or driven a GT car prior to this season, been involved in production cars. We just look at a quick replay, just deep under brakes. It's only a matter of finding a little bit of traction and finding the limit again, and away he goes. He'll hand across to Darryl O'Young shortly.
Of course, these cars have traction control and
ABS
and driver aids. That's why he's probably full on the pedal, but there's just not enough grip, so they just run off a little bit. So not much you can do about that. But as you say, he's learning as he continues. He's out there, and he's from the start of the year to now, he's grown as a driver, I think.
He certainly has. He's been a more complete driver. So too, Alex Out. So many of these amateur drivers have had to step up because the competition is just that intense.
The other good thing though is that when your teammate is somebody like Alex Young and and Alex Young's doing a 2:20 lap time and you're doing a 2:24, you find something inside yourself. You know what I mean? Like he's. It's not a good feeling to see how fast your teammate's going in the same car. So that also brings these younger amateur drivers on a lot, and they learn quick. It's a great concept. I like it.
Well, from a bloke who's driven a lot of bikes at a very high competitive level around the world, that's a pretty good rap. But it is. I'm very passionate about the GT Asia Series. In 25 years of motor racing, this is one of the most enjoyable championships I've ever been a part of, and the racing really, it just keeps me fired up. You see there's drivers out there that are race fans. Casey Thong, who's Sean Thong's father, is excited and skipping around and jumping around the pits all the time. He's just so into this racing. It really is that good. And talking about the international drivers coming and not being able to sometimes match the local drivers here that have been in Asia for a while has been interesting to watch. Keita Sawa, he's one of the veterans now, alongside Alex Young and Marchi Lee of GT racing in Asia, and they're every bit as good as anyone in the world. In fact, they went with three-time GT Asia Series champion Mok Weng Sun this year to Le Mans. Keita Sawa and Mok Weng Sun, part of a team with AF Corsa, and ran in the GTE AM category, finished 4th outright after 24 hours on their first visit to Le Mans. You don't do that if you're not capable of running at this level.
I reckon you want to keep an eye on the Kitasawa Venta car as well, especially after the pit stop are complete. They're going to be somewhere near the front of the race at that point, I reckon. And, they've had some bad luck this year, but they've won 3 races, so you can never count out that car. It's the winningest car here at the moment. Having said that, they've just dropped off the boil. They were 9 seconds behind. The last 2 laps they've dropped another 3 seconds. Last time we had Sawasan doing a 2:24.5, whereas Amichi's still punching out a 2:23.2, and Marchi Lee's doing a 2:23.1. So he's bringing that gap down. This is really going to get interesting. You look at Amichi. I've been watching Amichi for the last few laps. He is driving that thing on a knife edge. It really is loose. Look at it there. Everywhere he's on the throttle, braking. He's got the thing moving around so much. He's just risking a lot. He knows what he has to do. He has to make that gap as big as he can. And in the background there, you can see why. Because Anthony Liu is on his way on a charge. He's still pumping around. He's now 26 seconds off the lead. He's dropped a lot of time. Now, there we are. Pit stop window has just opened. Now, we will expect to see some of these teams in very early. I'd expect that Toy Birrenbach is probably just about out enough of exploring the limits of the number 91 VLT car. There's more drifting there from Jerome Mule in the number 15 Triple F Racing Lamborghini. He's been doing a pretty good job, but it doesn't for me. Oh, look at that for drifting. Anthony Liu's having the time of his life. It may not be fast, but it looks impressive, but he needs to be closing the gap.
26 seconds to the race leader at this stage is not going to be ideal. You see the best lap time, 2:22.56 for Amici. His best is a 2:20.92. That's a good 1.6 seconds faster.
We're just coming up to a really tricky part of this race now. It's stopped raining. You can see the sprays disappearing. Pit stop time. It's way too wet to put dry weather tyres on. But in another half an hour, there could be a dry line if it keeps up.
The other issue, as you say, is the condition of your wet weather tyres. Now, we talk about slicks when they go off may drop, a second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds a lap maximum, you think? But a wet weather tyre, once it's destroyed, that's wholesale time.
Well,
it's effectively pull into the pits and
the
game over.
The whole tread will come off of the carcass. So, and you can just see now, Kitasawa's come in. He's obviously had enough of driving around out there. I thought he might have stayed out a little bit longer, but Jonathan Venter to get in behind the wheel. This is probably a good strategy to get this pit stop over and done with nice and early. Get John in the car, and hopefully he can bring it home on the podium.
There's the 15 car in, following in. So too the 37 car for Anthony Liu to climb out for the last time this year and hand over to Davide Rizzo. That is Jerome Mule getting out, and Marco Mappelli on his debut in the GT Asia Series taking over. Daryl O'Young's just left.
Just saw they had a new set of wets going on that car.
Oh, there you go. So your option's pretty right. I wonder if anybody will opt for slicks. There's a whole bunch of tyres sitting there too for the number 6 car. That is another set of wet weather tyres. You can see the damage from that spin at turn 2.
Let's try and see if they're new though. Oh yeah, look at that. That's really knocked about, isn't it?
Yeah. So they are going to a new set of Control Michelin wets. And Davide Rizzo will have everything he needs to just charge through the closing stages of this race. Deschang entrenched in the 96 car and the Group M racing car. They have a normal stop. 75 seconds is all they need to stop. Sounds from the cheers that the Shangpeng car has come into pit lane for Craft Bamboo Racing.
Look at how loose that rear spoiler is.
Yeah, that could be a bit of an issue. They have to be careful they don't get a mechanical black flag. There it is, the Shangpeng car, and that will be Richard Lyons, the Ulsterman. Very, very good driver in GT cars around the world. Still a regular in Super GT in Japan, and been at the forefront of GT Asia for the last couple of seasons. That rear wing, it's broken, isn't it? It's a bit drunk. It shouldn't be sitting there like that. But if they can manage to keep it going, no doubt the stewards have looked at it, then they can just carry on. It doesn't seem to have changed the performance of the car. They'll rejoin inside the top 6. There's Davide Rizzo, who's still in this championship points battle, needs to put in the drive of his life to do something to change the outcome of this race.
Yeah, he certainly does. Of course, the number 55 car hasn't pitted yet. It's still out on track. The major competitors have all come in nice and early. But interesting to see now with the A drivers, I guess you would call them, in the cars.
Johnny Venter will be happy to look at that little piece of footage later. Marco Mappelli, one of the rock stars from Europe, going deep under brakes, and he actually monstered him as he came in under brakes in the number 8 Bentley and take away a little bit of time. But there's the race leaders, Andrea Amici's done a brilliant job. We've seen this from him a number of times this year. Hands back to Edo Liberati to close this out for him too. Just like Davide Rizzo, this will be the drive of his life. The most important, well, what have we got? 30 minutes of his life.
I'm sure there's a live link back to Italy at the moment, waiting to see what that Hurricane can do. Can it pull it off?
Well, interesting you mentioned the live link. After he had dramas, remember, we're talking about the first round of the championship in South Korea. Between races 1 and 2, or rounds 1 and 2 of the championship, they were split overnight in the opening round of the championship. Not today. The races are back-to-back. He received a call from Stefano Domenicali, who's the former Ferrari F1 boss, now the boss of Lamborghini, to say, mate, this is really important. We've been watching you. You just need to get it all together and do what you can to settle down and concentrate on the driving. And to Edo's credit, all year he's been very professional and very, very calm, and he's really stepped on. But this is how important it is to Lamborghini.
Well, I wonder if Edo's going to get another call tonight saying good job. We'll know in another half an hour or so, because that car is destined to win the championship if they can just finish the race. But it looks like they want to do it in style. They're going for the win. They just don't want to finish it.
Well, you wouldn't, would you? I mean, they're racers, and they've said that a number of times. We're racers, but this is a championship, and they've been super consistent. Now, here it is. This is for, well, it may not be the lead of the race.
I think that's
I still
the lead.
think there could be a couple further forward, but that behind would be a 1-2 for the Triple F racing team. That was Marco Mappelli coming up the track behind him. Now, it says that, in fact, Marchie Lee or Sean Thong should be leading this race. We'll see how this plays out. Now, you're probably right. That could be 1, 2 and 3 with Davide Rizzo at the top of the screen going through turn 1.
Well, I haven't seen Marchie Lee in the pit yet, and I would say that he'll stay out as long as possible. So that is possible that he's leading at the moment. Anyway, things will sort themselves out in the next couple of minutes. There's only 4 minutes left. Oh, Venter's run off at the end of the straight. Whoa, big moment there.
That's Alex Jung and Adley Fong battling for position, I think you'll find. And Adley Fong will be keen to have a strong close to his season. Done a great job in juggling duties in both America, where he's been a podium finisher in American GT, in an identical Bentley Continental GT3, different tyre over there, slightly different rules, but an identical car to all effect to the Absolute Racing car he races here in the GT Asia Series. And as you said earlier, he's been a race winner in the GT Asia Series this year. And we have 28 minutes to go in this race. There's still a long way to go, Steve Martin.
Yeah, I think Adley Fong is definitely race fit. Something like 20 races he's done this year. So he's certainly racked up the frequent flyer points to and from America. I know that he enjoys racing over there, and he certainly enjoys this GT Asia Series as well. And he's been one of the regular podium getters this year. Good to see.
Another driver with a bit of F1 experience, has tested F1 in the past, raced in GB3 last year, had a bit of a tough season, was juggling duties with GT Asia, where he finished second in the championship with Kata Saab. But here's the man we were talking about, Marchie Lee. He will be the race leader of this race. He needs to have a good pit stop. Now, during that pit stop, he will stop for 95 seconds. Currently, he leads by 103 seconds, but he's still got to get down the pit lane, and he's still got to exit the pit lane. Now, this will be tight. Depending on how the Phoenix Racing Asia team have played this, he could be well and truly in the box seat, but he'll definitely come out in the mix with the 2 leading Lamborghinis. So we'll see how this one plays. He has 2 minutes 16, so you would guarantee, well, he can't guarantee, he's definitely got to be in this time round, or it's game over for that team.
If he has a spin or a run-off at the end of the straight, he's going to be in trouble.
Absolutely. Well, here he is coming up on the tail of Richard Lyons, who dives down to turn 14. And it'll be interesting to see what the Phoenix Racing Asia team have set aside for Sean Thong to complete the final leg of his 2016 GT Asia Series.
This is an immaculate drive by Marchie Lee. I mean, that Phoenix Racing team have done a fantastic job. I mean, look at the timing of this. He's come into the pits with 1:42 left. You couldn't have timed it better if you tried.
They will be doing everything they can for this gorgeous A8 by Bathing Ape Audi Hong Kong Audi R8 LMS GT3 for the 2012 Audi R8 LMS Cup champion. He's been a race winner in that series too this year, and is right in the championship fight with his teammate Alex Jung. It'll be a slick stop. This is a great operation. Of course, part Asian, part German, Phoenix Racing Asia from Ernst Moser. Multiple winners in the DTM Championship in Europe, also in the Nürburgring 24-hour race. They've in Spa, they've been very, very strong competitors for a lot of years, and they've brought that finesse into GT Asia this year, also into the Audi R8 LMS Cup, and been winners in both series.
Yeah, all that, and I'll tell you what, it's one of the best looking cars too, isn't it?
Well, all things aside, absolutely. In fact, this car was on display in Beijing in a box that made it look like a model car in the Sanlitun district, the big shopping district in the middle of Beijing, and it looked absolutely fantastic. So right into the promotion, and a sponsor like A8 by Bathing Ape, they are really good for this sport. They just bring a different dynamic and a different feel, and the car, as you say, it looks terrific.
Yeah, it's, you know, we are blessed here. We've got some fantastic teams, very professional, Triple F racing team, of course, and then there's the Team Absolute, who run the Bentleys and also sometimes another Audi. Just some top class technicians and teams and strategists come to these Asian events for GT Asia Series.
Here we go. Here it plays. We just saw the 2 Lamborghinis and Jonathan Venter heading towards turn 16. They should be in the right of screen. There they are. Here is Sean Thong. He's about to leave pit lane and start pulling gears as quickly as he possibly can. They will split the 2 Lamborghinis. Between, that is Mapelli and Edo Liberati. Now, Liberati doesn't need to do anything but sit comfortably there, and he and Andrea Amici will be the 2016 GT Asia Series champions. They don't want to be involved in any kind of contact. That also opens it up for Mapelli to go. What he may have been thinking is he needed to move over, let his teammate take the win and add to the tally, but they now have to get past that number 5 Audi of Sean Thong, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, the thing is that Sean's out now. He's on cold, fresh tyres, so if he's going to do it, he needs to do it in this first 1 or 2 laps while Sean's just finding his feet out there, because he won't have the same grip at the moment as the man in front of him.
7 seconds, the gap between Jonathan Venter and, in fact, it's a little bit more than that. I think it's about 9 seconds between Jonathan Venter and Davide Rizzo. Now, Davide Rizzo is circulating 2:22.5. It's been his best lap time so far. Johnny Venter circulating in 2:22.9. So there's a bit of ground to make up there. I don't think that's likely to happen, but still, it's not a bad recovery. All things considered, it hasn't fallen the way of the 37 this weekend after qualifying.
Fastest 2 men on the track at the moment. Richard Lyons back in 8th has just done a 21.6. Very impressive. And 21.6 also for Mapelli in the number 15 car that we were looking at, just behind this Bathing 8 R8.
Well, and there's another 21 in there too, 21.8 for Alex Young. So he's finding a little bit of pace too. So it also tends to suggest, Steve Martin, that the track's starting to dry.
Well, it is. I mean, there's definitely nowhere near as much spray as we've seen earlier on in round 11. There's Marchie Lee. That's how hard you work, even in these cooler conditions. I mean, it's not a holiday inside these GT3 cars, that's for sure.
Oh, it's hard work, despite all those driver aids. As you say, they've got a lot there going for them, but they have to work terribly, terribly hard to get these cars to operate. I mean, they are a little bit on a knife edge. They are a race car at the end of the day. They have a lot of aids to make it easier for the gentleman drivers. That's been the success of GT3. It's about the amateur driver and getting them up to speed. But you'll often find that a good amateur driver can only be a couple of seconds a lap off a pro driver.
Well, hang on. We've got an amateur driver right here in Sean Thong, and he's actually leading Mapelli at the moment, and he's held him off at the last lap. So you know what I mean? Like what we talked about, the learning curve earlier on. These young Asian drivers are incredible with the way that they learn. They're quick learners.
And in fact, Sean Thong was part of a 4-driver entry in this year's Nürburgring 24-hour race. I was lucky enough to see them race. It was Marchie Lee, Alex Young, the veterans, alongside Frankie Cheng, who's another veteran of Chinese motorsport in GT cars, also drives in the Audi Cup Series. They were joined by Sean and did a very, very good job.
Yeah, Frankie Cheng, he raced here also, didn't he?
Yeah, he raced and set the pace here last time out in the dry running with the Audi. And the Milestone Team Audi is a little bit deep there for, that was Andrea Amici. No, sorry, it was in fact Marco Mapelli. It's Eduardo Liberati is the driver we're focusing on, the pending champion of the 2016 series, sitting there in 3rd place behind Sean Thong. He doesn't need to do anything silly, anything dramatic. What he needs to do is finish this race. It looks like the championship will fall the way of the Triple F racing team by ACM. We saw them in the championship last year, ran McLarens that time round. Didn't have the greatest of years, but had some good results. Also had Tonio Luzzi, another Formula 1 driver, driving as part of their stable. But this year they've switched across to the Lamborghini Quadricorse team and the Huracan GT3, and they've been right on it the whole season. In fact, probably the most podiums during the course of the year. Any teams. Top 5 finishes for the number 55 car, 7. This will make it 8, and last time around they finished outside. So 8 top 5 finishes, 6 podiums. This will make it 7 podiums, 1 DNF. Now that's part of the key, Steve, is making sure that you finish these races.
Yeah, that DNF, of course, was the first race of the year, and it's ironic that it was Edo Liberati who was driving the car when that happened, and now it's his turn to give some payback, and he will be the driver that takes the car to victory and perhaps the championship.
Isn't that that's a great result? That's a fairy tale result for the young man who was absolutely shattered.
He's got
after
20
that opening
minutes.
round of the championship. Okay, don't put the mockers on him just yet.
20 minutes before
but
he can
he
that
does
fairy tale.
deserve this. He certainly does deserve it. He's driven very well. His drone mule on track, looking at, yes, it is number 1 for Marco Mapelli. But I tell you what, Sean Thong's not letting him get away, and nor is Edo Liberati. But who's that ranging up behind them? That is Johnny Venter, the Australian, who's desperate for another strong run in this championship. Although they did admit to me earlier they're not as strong in the wet as they would like around here. So it may not be that Johnny can get himself to the front, but he knows that if he's in a position to battle door to door with Liberati, he could take that position away. He knows Liberati's going for a championship. For Johnny Venter, he's out of the title race, but he would love nothing more than a podium finish to close out his season.
Yeah, absolutely. 3 wins and 2nd place for John Venter. and Kitasawa this year. So to finish that off with a podium, as you say, would be a great result for that team, and the absolute Bentley team as well. You've got to remember that just in the background behind the pits there is the absolute workshop. So they don't have far to go home tonight, that's for sure.
Well, they're one of the biggest service teams in Asia, and Ingo Mata and Fabian Fior have been in Asia for more than 10 years. They recognise an opportunity here, established Absolute Racing, and they are one of the best GT teams in the world. So much so that this year they're also given the contract by Bentley to operate the team in the USA. They now have a base in Daytona. So I think the bases are Shanghai, Zhuhai, Sepang in Malaysia, and Daytona. So that's not a bad list of addresses on your business card.
Holiday destinations.
Well, certainly for motorsport people, they're pretty good holiday destinations. There's Sean Thong continues around 2:22.067. Now, Liberati might be starting to think, if he's got that number 8 Bentley raging up behind him, that it might be time to make a bit of a move forward. Now, the gap between them, he's got about 3 and a bit seconds over Venter. So Venter hasn't actually made up too much ground last time round. Liberati and Amici showed pretty good pace early, so he knows he's got a little bit extra up his sleeve. The fastest on circuit still is Mapelli. And let's just take a look back down. Richard Lyons, position 8 in the Shanghai Porsche. He 2:22.1 last time round, so he's still on a pretty handy pace, only a couple of tenths slower than the race leader.
Yeah, Mapelli is on a mission. He's so smooth. He's doing 2:21s every lap. He's just put in a 2:22, his first 2:22 for quite a while. But he really is just pulling away from the field at the moment. A great result for the Europeans.
Certainly is a nice finish to the season for them, but they've done their job. Mapelli and Jerome Mule, the last 2 rounds. Of course, it was Richard Antonucci and Jerome Mule last time out, a couple of months ago here at Shanghai. They have run tail gunner to the number 55 car, but certainly the number 55 team of Amici and Liberati have matched the performance and the pace of the drivers brought in to try and help them. In fact, they outdrove them last time around here in the dry, and you could argue they outdrove them in the last race, even though the positions were a little bit further back behind where they'd like. Certainly in qualifying, Amici's lap to get pole, his second pole of the year. Very, very impressive performance.
There he is, Sean Thong once again. Coping well with the pressure, but I guess now with 16 minutes to go, you've got to think that car number 55, the Hurricane there on the screen, beautiful, prepared, and once again we said that gold Audi was beautiful, but look at that Hurricane, isn't that beautifully prepared from the Triple F by ACM Racing Team. Andrea Caldarelli here this weekend as well.
Indeed he is, and in fact Sean Fu, who's the Triple F element of the team, was due to race here in a Lamborghini Super Trofeo, but unfortunately was unable to make it, had to pull out at the very last minute. But very passionate about their motorsport, and the Roger Dubois liveried Lamborghini Huracan looks immaculate. It's very, very quick, and those 2 young Italian drivers, they're fantastic. They're fantastic representatives of their country, of Lamborghini and the sport. Great for us to work with as media, great for the category because they're very, very professional and very, very fast, and they've experienced firsthand just how competitive the Asian market is. It actually looks to be getting a little bit lighter. I was going to say it was getting dark. I know they've probably opened the camera up a little bit, but it appears to be getting a little bit lighter. Maybe that dry line will appear a little bit sooner than you think.
Well, that's why all the cars are heading over to the left there, and you can see as they come out of turn 13 up the top of the circuit there, it's definitely quite dry. The last thing you want to do is overheat these tyres now with 15 minutes to go, because it could get awful slippery and slidey. And if you had to pit now, it'd be a big disaster.
Well, it'd be effectively game over. I mean, okay, for Edo and Andrea, they could pit no problem, stay out of trouble, still finish the race. As long as they score a point, they will win this championship. But I don't think they need to do that. But Edo's certainly taking the safe approach, and why not? I noticed that John O'Venter's closing in just a little bit. It was down to 2.7 seconds, but as they crossed the line, that had extended again to 2.9 seconds. So they'll be monitoring that. If he gets too close, that starts to be somewhat of a challenge they might allow him to force his way past Sean Thong, or they might just let the big Bentley go and give him the opportunity to finish fourth. I mean, they're going to be the champions as long as things continue down this path.
I think the smart move is just to let the Bentley go. I mean, you've got to make this count. This is so important for Lamborghini, this victory, that they've just got to do what it takes to win. Nobody's going to remember who wins this race, but I'll tell you what, at Christmas time, they'll know who won the championship.
Coming through the low TV corner, great to see support from the big Chinese online network here for the GT Asia Series, which has really come of age in season 2016. Amazing racing in every single round of the championship. No quarter given, and to have a field of cars where any number of the starters could be on the podium, that's pretty competitive. I mean, last time here we saw in the dry 11 cars within 9/10 of a second in qualifying over a 2-minute 5 lap. That's pretty tight racing in anybody's language.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was looking to be a similar affair here this weekend. The one dry practice that we did have, they went under the lap record, didn't they? So pretty impressive speeds. Of course, a lot cooler, as you can see, than it was when we were here in August, when it was, 45 degrees or something ridiculous?
It felt like 45 degrees, Steve. We're Australians, we shouldn't complain about that sort of thing, but it was really hot, really steamy. And in fact, we're talking about performance differences to Paddy Roberts down there in Absolute Racing about the Bentleys. He said last time round, at the end of the main straight, they would do 262, 263 kilometres an hour. This time, in cool qualifying yesterday, or during the dry session rather, they got to as high as 271. It's about 8 kilometres an hour difference for that twin turbo 4-litre V8 Bentley to breathe cooler air and actually punch out better performance. And we saw it was a Bentley that got the time. It was Duncan Tappy, took 9/10 off the qualifying time from Alex Young in that first race. As Andrea Amici on the left and Jerome Mule, Andrea Caldarelli on the right, Alf Boyer to his right, Mark Wynn behind them, just watching on very cautiously, fingers and everything else crossed. Just finished this race, 12 and a half minutes to go, and we will be the 2016 GT Asia Series champions.
Alf's still smiling there in the background too, with that little wry smile that he likes to have. I'm sure there's a bit of a nervous twitch going on in the background there.
Sean Thong just seemed to slow that corner up quite dramatically.
Well,
I don't know whether he had an issue, but
no.
that allowed Edo to really close up. Now the difference back to it's 3.2 seconds now between Liberati and Venter.
Well, the conditions are certainly changing a lot now, and even though it looks like it's drying up in certain parts of the circuit, sometimes that can make it, believe it or not, slipperier with these wets. They really do need a lot of water to perform at their best.
Yeah, it's definitely clearing. There's definitely less water on the circuit. I'd say the rain has probably stopped. Now, whether or not they get through the next 12 minutes, okay.
Oh,
it's not,
absolutely.
the ambient temperature is not too high, so it's not likely to clear up very quickly. It's been a lot cooler here in Shanghai over the last couple of weeks. In fact, this is the leading edge of a typhoon that's just gone through the Philippines.
Not a hurricane.
Not a hurricane. Well, there's going to be a hurricane going through the GT Asia Series at the end of this race. It'll be the number 55 Roger Dubois hurricane of Edo Liberati and Andrea Amici. But let's not talk it up too much. We've seen this so many times where we've given them the trophy before the race is finished and it hasn't ended particularly well. We don't want to put these two young guys through it. They're fantastic ambassadors for the GT Asia Series and for Lamborghini Squadra-Corsa, and it'd be a great result if it happens that way, and it's certainly looking that way now as Marco Mappelli continues to lead at the front of the field. It's not a bad result in the end. They win round 12 outright and take the championship. They'd have to be pretty happy with that as Marchie Lee, one of the veterans, one of the pioneers of motorsport in Asia, watches on as Sean Thong continues to hold down second place.
Yeah, great result for Marchie Lee. That would be too, a podium in round 11 and 12 here in Shanghai. Really good job by the Phoenix Racing team this weekend.
That is the 37 car of Davide Rizzo, and he's being monsters at the moment by Alex Young, who's worked his way all the way back up to sixth position. So the Malaysian driver is going to do everything he can to try and take another position away, and he's certainly been quicker over the last couple of laps than Davide Rizzo, 2:23.7 to a 2:24.7. So he's bought in some wholesale distance on that number 37 red and yellow BBT Racing Ferrari 488.
You know what?
He'll be looking for another good finish to this championship.
Alex Young has really had his form is unbelievable in this last half of the year. I mean, at the start of the year, I don't know I don't know, but like in the last half of this year, I've really seen him grow and as a driver, and I mean, he's been getting some great results and driving brilliantly.
Both he and Marchie Lee, I was talking about earlier, they're over 40 years of age now. They've been pioneers for motorsport in Asia. Marchie Lee could have made Formula 1 too, had some of the cards fallen a little bit differently. And here is Alex Young all over the back of Davide Rizzo, who's clearly suffering as a result of the dramas they've had here this weekend. He's driving a very wide line, protecting the opportunity. One of the best in Asia at doing that is the man behind him. So I don't think anything would have happened if the roles were reversed. Alex Young certainly would have been very wide and tried to do the same thing to Rizzo. But whether or not he's got more grip and able to take that position away,
he's gone round the outside.
That is a gutsy move to do that and take away the position. As that looked like Liberati starting to press a little bit harder now on the rear of Sean Dong. There they are. Sean Dong running a bit more of a protective line, and Liberati knows that if he makes the move, it has to be decisive. It has to be without any chance of contact, any chance of drama. But that number 8 Bentley of Jonathan Venter is starting to get a little bit closer.
Oh, he's on the inside.
Through the parabolica, he's got the line. He can take the position away. Could be a drag race down to turn 14. But Sean Dong also knows he's a smart operator. He's done the crossover.
Look at that.
And he'd take the position away heading down to turn 14. He knows that Liberati has to yield. He's going for the championship. Sean Dong wants to hang on to this second position. He's taken the position back in the drag race down to turn 14.
Meanwhile, look at John Venter in the background. He's starting to make a bit of ground on the two guys in front. That gap would be interesting to see. It's 3.7 at the moment back to Jonathan Venter, but if there's one place that he doesn't want to finish in his number 8 Bentley is 4th, which is where he is at the moment.
How much of this is instruction? How much of it is raw racing driver?
Well, you've got Italians behind the wheel of that number 55 and they're young. Yeah. So they're being reined back quite a bit, but the blood is pumping and they I think they know what they need to do. They just need to finish the race, basically. But when they get into an overtaking manoeuvre like we just saw before, I mean, anything can happen.
Well, 3.7 seconds is the advantage he has over Johnny Venter. He doesn't need to do anything dramatic.
He doesn't need to.
They're not going back to attack from the... Look at the distance. Look at the gap.
They're not.
He doesn't need to do anything here. Yes, they'd love dearly now to have a 1-2 finish. But the risk, I guess the other thing they look at is the only way Davide Rizzo can win this is to win the race.
Yeah.
Now, even if there was a DNF for the 55 car, they would still win the championship. So maybe the call has come from the team to say, we want a 1-2, you get through on that gold Audi because we want to have both cars to finish this championship with the title, with the race win and a 1-2.
I mean, what an impressive podium that would be, wouldn't it, when the cars pull up 1-2. Even 1-3's nice too. So interesting to see how it all pans out. But at the moment, the 55 car is doing everything right.
Yeah, it's been a good drive by both the drivers. I'm very impressed with Andrea Amici. Just gets on with the job. Unfortunately for Edo Liberati, he's been thrown in with the pro driver, so he's probably a little bit more under the microscope than his teammate, and he's the one that's been forced into issues because with the AM drivers, Amici's able to maybe just flex a little bit more muscle, whereas Edo, he's flexing muscle against drivers like Marchie Lee, Alex Young, Richard Lyons, some of the best drivers in Asia, and they're not going to give any quarter. So he is the one who's unfortunately faced a little bit more contact and a little bit more grief, and perhaps unfairly because he's been very, very consistent at the rest of the rounds, apart from that unfortunate knock at the opening round in South Korea.
Yeah, well, once again, he was a year younger at that point when we took off the young Italian blood that we were talking about. But, I mean, the good thing about those guys is that they get on well. They're very evenly matched when it comes to pace, which makes a great team, a great pairing in this GT Asia Championship, where it's important to have two evenly matched fast drivers, and you've got to say that those two guys work well together. They share all the information. They're always friendly. They're not trying to outdo each other. It's exactly what Alf Bora and that team and Andrea Caldarelli need to win this championship, and it's paying off for them right now.
There he is, Andrea Amici, very nervous times. These will be some of the most nervous minutes in his young racing career, I'm sure, as he looks towards what could be one of the biggest championship victories in his career. That is, Adley Fong has run off the circuit. Now, Adley Fong was holding down position number 8. He's falling back through the field. You've got to wonder whether that may be tyres Yes, it's unusual for Adley to have that sort of issue.
With the turbo boost of these big Bentleys.
Here's a replay. We'll see what happened. Down at turn 14, Shangpeng corner.
He's just
gone in too deep.
Run on. But on that point, they do turn the turbo boost right down in the wet, in the low RPMs, in the first 3 gears, in fact, on those Bentleys. So they're virtually normally aspirated. There goes Jonathan Venter, similar problem.
Well, he's run too deep too.
That's 2 times.
That's
he did
the
it
low
there
TV corner. And you see just behind him, he's got now free of the battle who's involved with Davide Rizzo is Alex Jung. So Alex Jung last time round 2:23.5. Johnny Venter 2:25.5. He lost 2 seconds, and the gap is now 3.7 seconds. So that could well be a position change and allow Alex Jung to get himself into position number 4, which would be 2 Lamborghinis, 2 Audis, making up the top 4, 2 team cars in both situations. The Sean Thong continues to do a masterful job and hold Edo Liberati at bay. Now, in any other situation, I think, Steve Martin, you'd probably find the young Italian take the dive and try and take the position away. But I think Sean Thong knows that. He's driving a little bit wider and he's attacking when he's been taken for position. Whoa. Oh, look, they're drifting through turn 13 as they head down that long back straight. And Edo Liberati's watching all of that thinking, well, this could be an opportunity for me to make the move through. I reckon there could be a position change coming here before the end of this race with 3 minutes 43 to go.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to pick, isn't it? I mean, like, he's close. He looks like he can do it, but does he want to risk it, or does he just want to make sure he gets to the finish? But I guess, you know, like, he's got nothing to lose now. But is he thinking that at the moment? I don't think so. The last thing he wants to do is dent that car and end up off the track and win that way. Ending it and winning a championship by getting on the podium is the way to win.
Absolutely, and it would be, as we say, 8 top 5 finishes in 12 races is a pretty good result, but that's how tight it's been. They've only won 1 round of the championship. They've been race leaders, they've been podium finishers, but 8 top 5s, just 1 DNF, and just 1 win is going to give them the championship. It's been that tight and that consistent. The man in front of him has won 2 rounds of the championship. Johnny Venter, the man behind him, has won 3 rounds of the championship. They're out of this title race. In fact, their title rivals, the BBT Ferrari, you can see it at the top of screen as Davide Rizzo came through turn 1, they've only won 2 rounds of the championship. You've got to put it all together. It's more than just victory, and victory this year has been very, very hard to attain.
Absolutely, and the other thing is that passing the Audi at here this weekend, I mean, when you look at that Audi, it seems to have a good aero package here. It's got a lot of top speed, but it's also got grip, so it's probably not one of the easiest cars to pass in these conditions.
No, you're exactly right, and that's the other thing too, is it's great to catch the tail of these cars, but the modern GT3 cars, they develop so much dirty air with their aerodynamics behind the car, and that is also strategy. They don't want it to be nice, clean air for a following car. Once you close in, it's often very difficult to get out of that slipstream and make good use of it. And the passing opportunities at some of these circuits aren't quite as obvious as you would think. They're very wide circuits, but when you're very closely matched on performance, we're talking about 9/10 of a second covering 11 cars in qualifying when we're here in August. Where's the opportunity to get past? It's very, very difficult.
Yeah, there's certainly lots of different lines around this circuit, but are they quicker, are they slower? That's a difficult thing. It just depends on the car, it depends on the setup and the driver as to which is the fastest way through. But generally on a track like this, you have to set the overtaking manoeuvre up. As we look at one of the young Italians in there with his fingers and everything crossed, you have to set the overtaking manoeuvre up 2 or 3 corners before you actually make the move.
Absolutely, and there's been some conversations with somebody as experienced as Alex Jung recently where Rahel Fry, who he races with in the Audi Cup, said a driver like that remembers a move. You faint once and he remembers it, and he'll cover you every single time. So you have to use a little bit of bluff, and the word we use is strategy to describe all these things. Look at that great crowd, still captivated as we come into the final lap of the 2016 GT Asia Series season, and Shangpeng have been roundly entertained through this entire event today. And it is Marco Mappelli. What a great drive he has put in. A nice job set up well by Jerome Mule. They started from position number 4 in this race, and we haven't spoken about him much, Steve, but he has been a really good asset to this Triple F team this time round as Edo Liberati pushes once more, going through turn 3. very wide. He wants to be very, very careful. He needs to finish this race, but applying the last little bit of pressure on this last lap, the last lap of the 2016 GT Asia Series, onto Sean Thong. Sean Thong's aware. He'll be being told by the Phoenix Racing Asia team, just keep holding position. There won't be contact. You need to make sure you hold position as they come out of the low TV corner and charge down towards turn 7. Alex Young too has ranged right up onto the tail of Johnny Venter. Will be in a similar position here to Sean Thong, protecting over the final stanza of this lap to complete their race and round 12 of the championship, which will conclude the 2016 GT Asia Series. Down to turn 9, into turn 10. Be very careful of the run off there. There'll be drag race down to turn 11 and head into the Parabolica. We'll see what the drive of the Lamborghini is like coming through there. No, it looks like Sean Thong's got that covered. He'll move across to protect the line, head into the tight left-hander and fire through the Parabolica. Then you'd expect a drag race down to turn 14, and whether Edo Liberati can manage to pull out of the slipstream and take the drive away as he's ranged up under the rear wing of the number 5 Audi. Good drive, maximum drive off the corner from Sean Thong. You'd see him at top of screen there as a big lead now, out to 16 seconds by Marco Mappelli as he brings the number 15 car through the final 2 corners. Sean Thong moving across to protect the line. Get some water on those tyres, as Steve has just said. Keep them cool. This is the last time you'll need them. We're back to Mappelli as he comes through the final corner, and that'll be victory for the Italian driver and his teammate, his Dutch teammate Jerome Mule. That's a great result for Triple F Racing Team, their second win of the season. But the race we're looking at is the 1-4 position, number 2. Will it be Edo Liberati? Will it be Sean Thong? Will there be contact? Not long to wait now. There they are, top of screen. And Sean Thong hangs on to finish second for the Phoenix Racing Asia team, and a masterful drive there from the Triple F Racing team, first and third. But the important thing here, as Alex Young follows John Venter across the line, is that his victory and the championship to Andrea Amici. What a fantastic result. And Andrea Caldarelli too there on the right. Very, very happy. Part of this team, part of this success story. And they have victory in Asia. And for Lamborghini and for Squadra Corse, this is a great job for the team in Bologna, who will take their first major victory for the Huracan GT3 right here in Asia with the GT Asia Series. And they are desperate to come back next year and defend that title with the number 1 on the side of the Roger Dubois Huracan. A nice result too there for their supporter and sponsor that's been with them all year. And Edo Liberati, I am sure there is a lot of emotion going on inside that helmet. He has done a great job. He's had a tough year. He's come under fire from the team. He's come under fire from the bosses. He's been very hard on himself. His teammates been fully supportive throughout the whole season. And for these 2 young Italian drivers, this is a brilliant close to the 2016 GT Asia Series, and what a performance they've put in. But as we said earlier, it has not been easy. There's been 7 teams this year have taken victory in the 12 rounds of the GT Asia Series, and what a tough season it has been. These guys have won the championship, but just one of those 12 rounds this year. It looked at one stage like they may not even take a round victory, but they've been able to pull that off, and that's been great. There we are, your 2016 GT Asia Series champions, the winners of the Shangpeng race of Shanghai. Overall, and the champions, it is the Triple F Racing team by ACM. Andrea Caldarelli Motorsport, a big part of this package. Roger Dubois too. Alf Bora, Mark Wynn and all the team have done a great job to take the round win, and the race win rather, and the championship victory. A nice cool slow down lap for Edo Liberati, who I'm sure is feeling all the emotions here. He knows what this means to Lamborghini. He knows what this means for his career, and this could be the stepping stone that takes this young driver the next step. Acknowledgement from the man who finished the 2015 championship in second place, very nearly won the title. That was Adley Fong. They have been great competitors here this season. I'm so excited, I'm starting to lose my voice. They've been great competitors here this season and well respected by all the teams. It's been one of the hallmarks of the GT Asia Series in 2016 is the camaraderie between the teams. So I'm sure there'll be much celebration from the GT Asia Series regulars for Edo Liberati, Andrea Amici and the whole Triple F Racing team. Nice result. Look forward to hearing from Edo and Andrea, as Sean Thong's done a great job to finish second. He'll be very exhausted after driving a tough closing stance into this race. The young man from Hong Kong, Margie Lee's teammate, back on the podium. They were on the podium for round 11 earlier, and that is Marco Mappelli, who has done a perfect job. The thumbs up from Andrea Amici. There is Jerome Mule. He was part of this too, the Italian and the Dutch combination, winning the final round of the 2016 GT Asia Series. A great result again for Triple F Racing Team by ACM and Roger Dubois. Congratulations for Mappelli from the 2016 GT Asia Series champion. I'm not sure, David Sonninger in the background congratulating his new star, the man who will take the championship, the 6th season of the GT Asia Series, and they just get better and better. This one has been so hotly contested, you couldn't take your eyes off the monitor for a minute. Myself, Jonathan Green and Steve Martin, who've done such a fantastic job during this year, have been without voice on a number of occasions. So good has the racing been. Steve Martin, a world champion in his own right on motorbikes, has admitted on a number of occasions that this is amongst the best motorsport he's ever seen anywhere in the world. And here you are, Edo Liberati, Andrea Amici, two very happy young Italians. And yes, you deserve this, young man. You've really done a great job. And you should enjoy the accolades and the respect of the team. The big Shangpeng crowd sits there, watches on. Unfortunately for them, it looked like it might be victory in the opening race, but it looks like Steve Martin's down there with the race winners, Marco Mappelli and Jerome Mule.
Jerome, congratulations. Fantastic feeling. I know you had a big part of developing this car. It's you've just won here in China.
Yeah, indescribable. I mean, second time here in Shanghai and second time even competing in this championship. And now together with my teammate Marco here, also a fellow Lamborghini driver, it's amazing to be here on the top step.
Marco, a fantastic drive. You brought the car home for your victory first time out here in GT Asia.
Well, Jerome made a big step at the beginning of the race with the old tires. Then we save our new tires for the stint, and they pay off. So thanks to the team, thanks to Lamborghini, it's good to win. And they won also the championship. So
yeah, looks good with two cars on the podium. Congratulations, guys.
Yeah, good points. It was interesting to hear from Jerome Mule to be seeing that he's run the older rubber to start this and then go with the strategy to put Marco Mappelli on the new tyres to complete this race. And look at that result. First in round 12, first in the championship. Great result. But it looks like Steve Martin might be down there with the guys we really want to hear from, the 2016 champions, Liberati and Amici.
Edo, Andrea, I don't know who to speak to first. We've spoken to you a lot throughout the year, but you guys have done it. You've brought home the Hurricane and the championship. Well done, guys.
Yeah, it's amazing. I will only say thanks to all the team, to Lamborghini Squadra Calls, to help us, to support us in all decisions. Also thanks to my teammate for the great job and the really professional job for all decisions. And so it's amazing. No word. I will also say congratulations to our fighters, Rizzo and Liu, because yes, we have fortune in this weekend, but they are being great also. So really congratulations also to them.
Edo, first race of the year didn't work out all that great for you, but you certainly made up for it today. You brought the car home, championship win.
we kept believing. That was the key. Thanks to Lamborghini, thanks to FFF, they did a great job. But first of all, thanks to him, who didn't have any mistake, who did a great job, who kept believing with me, kept smiling with me all the time. Really, we kept pushing all the time, never stopping. And it's his championship, most of it. It's his championship.
It's not true. It's not true.
Thank you very much, guys. Back to you, Sean.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. I think Edo Liberati feels a lot that this championship became a little bit harder because of the fact that they had that drama in the opening round of the championship. The emotion hasn't hit him yet. It will. He's been very matter-of-fact. In fact, both of them have been very matter-of-fact since opening practice here. You can't get much out of them. They've been very focused on the job at hand. And pushed them a couple of times. So too has Steve Martin, to try and get some emotion from them. They haven't budged, but I'm sure tonight, after a couple of quiet drinks with the team, that the emotion will start to come out, and they will enjoy what they've just achieved. And there it is, Edoardo Liberati, Andrea Amici, and rightly so, Edo at the top of the tables there, 144 points. Sean Thong and Marchie Lee actually leap into second place as a result of that P2 finish, and Sean Thong's strong drive, 126. Davide Rizzo and Anthony Liu fell to third, 119 points, and Adelie Fong and Andrew Kim, also race winners this year, 115. Then Johnny Venter and Alex Young's strong drive to work his way back into contention at the end moves him up to position number 10. So a great close to this championship. Alex Hour, also 108. Kato Soa, 106. Of course, he missed a round alongside Jonathan Venter and when he was off at Le Mans. And as Vuticorns dropped back, he had a pretty rough weekend. You saw the car back in pit lane early. Then Duncan Tappy, Carlo Van Dam, Pity Berenbachti, Frank Yu and Richard Lyons. Not the greatest of days for the Shangpeng racing team, but they've recovered and they'll come back next year stronger and bigger and better than they have been. And do you get much emotion down there, Steve Martin? Those guys didn't seem to say much, but I could feel it in what Edo said, that he said it's Andrea's win. But no, he drove brilliantly, and he deserves all the accolades for really just carrying this through.
You know what? I think there's been a lot of weight on those guys' minds. They were sent to this GT Asia Series to do a job at the start of the year. It didn't start off well. They got pretty much touted as cowboys, but they've certainly showed everyone the way, and they've won the championship. They were the most consistent guys over the length of the series, and I think here today the Triple F racing team come to the fore. 2 cars on the podium in the last race of the year. Not much of a better way to finish than that.
Well, it also shows you just how important the GT Asia Series is for Lamborghini to put this effort into those 2 young guys, also Jerome Mule and Marco Mappelli. There was no shortage of effort. AF Corsa there supporting the BBT team, as they have done all year. Phoenix Racing Asia, I mean, they're partners with Phoenix Racing Germany. There's a lot of commitment and effort. This has been no easy championship to win, and the team back in Bologna at Lamborghini will be more than aware of just how much work they've done. So we're onto the podium, and there's some deserved podium sitters here. But a great job. You may have just missed it. Marchie Lee and Sean Thong, as a result of that result, have moved into second in the championship. Fantastic stuff for them too. Audi also had a fantastic day here in Shanghai. So that was a great result for them. You know, when you win a championship, the emotion comes out afterwards. Yeah, I kind of get that feeling that a little bit later tonight, with the boys later, when they reflect on what's happened, you might see a few tears, you'll certainly see some reflections, and you can see on Edo's face, it's just exhaling, breathing heavily. The burden, you're right, that's exactly what it was. The burden's off his shoulders. They took it on personally. Edo, in particular, took it on personally, and a lot of this support and a lot of this result is due to Andrea, because he kept counselling his teammate that really it's a team effort. You've done the job. You've driven brilliantly. All of this is a result of the 2 of us. It's not just me. It's not just you. We do this together. And this is going to be plenty of champagne. They're going to enjoy this.
Yeah, they can even have a couple of mouthfuls now.
And that's it for the 2016 GT Asia Series. We look forward to you joining us in 2017 for what promises to be even bigger.
てください。